Chapter 24. Yes, we'd heard from people on the ground that they'd been saying that. The examiner folded her hands in front of her on her desk. You have people on the ground? You mean inside Tissia? Of course we do. Then what do you need me for? You're angry? No, I just don't understand. We have lots of people who work for us, who help us. What else did he have to say? That we threatened the Tissians who voted to be part of Sophorend 100 years ago. That's not true, is it? How did you feel when you heard that? I clenched my jaw. That was probably answer enough. Is it true? No, it's not true. Sometimes it doesn't matter how long you've been somewhere. Before that, always, the land belonged to someone else, or was shared by someone else. That's true almost everywhere. So Tissia's not right? They're right that there was a history of Tissian people living here, but they weren't threatened into voting a certain way. We have a long tradition of open and fair democracy. We're known for it. He's been presented with a version of history his government chooses for him, to convince him that there's a reason to fight us. Really, we think they want our sea access to pose a bigger threat to Eileen's empire. So they don't have a claim to this land? A lot of peoples could put a historical claim on this land. On any land. It just depends on how far back you want to go. I nodded. She leaned forward. His belief that he is right, that is one thing he brought from home. The next day I went up to Raynor's cell with my arms full. I passed the items carefully through the bars. While our fingers wouldn't touch, I was able to get things through far enough for him to reach them and draw them over to his side. First, a scroll of paper. He unfurled it, turned it over. Both sides were blank. He looked back toward me. I held up 3 paintbrushes. He nodded. I reached through with the brushes and then tried to hand him the small tubes of paint, but they weren't long enough to get through the gaps, so I ended up tossing them so they landed on his side. He reached through to retrieve them. I'm sorry, I said. I can't easily get you the rest of the things. It's okay, he said. I will use my dishes. He got his empty breakfast plate, squeezed out and mixed the colors, set to work. I knelt by the fence watching, brown with jagged streaks of red and black, and an orange glow, like the nights of bombing. It wasn't fond memories of home that he'd decided to paint. Raynor filled the paper quickly. Then he rested on his heels, looking at it. I'll be right back, I said. I ran to the art room and grabbed sheets and sheets of paper. Arriving back in his room moments later, I scrolled them up as I had the first one and passed them to him. He nodded and painted and painted. The images and colors took shape a little more. I could make out sort of wheeled warcraft, the khaki beige outfits of his comrades, faces black with mud, but with eyes stark white. Swishes of orange added to the red showed fire. Black and white together showed smoke, black naked trees, stems of what would have once been thriving with life, burnt and ruined. Paper after paper lined the floor. Then he suddenly stopped painting. My heart was pounding. His brow and upper lip dripped with sweat. His breath came in uneven gasps, as if he had been running through those fields and their smoke just now, finding no refreshing leaves to cool him, only the machines of war. He looked at me for just a second, as if I passed into his thoughts only momentarily, then back at the pages. He made a roar from deep in his throat and picked up one of them, about to twist his hands in opposite directions. Wait! I threw myself against the fence, my fingers gripping the wire hexagons. Don't ruin them. They're garbage. It's all garbage. Everything is garbage. I want them. I'll take them out of here, but please, just let them dry. You're my captor. You made me do this. You're in charge. If you say so, I will not destroy them, but I won't look at them any more. He dropped the painting, went to the wall farthest from me, and stood with his head against it. I am not your captor. You keep me here. You have keys. You could let me go. I have keys only for this side. I didn't lock you up. But you think I deserve to be locked up. I've seen the houses of people I know bombed to bits. It looks like what you've painted, and you did that to us. Not me, my country. and only to reclaim what is ours. It wasn't yours. You're only believing what you've been told. Maybe you're only believing what you've been told. He turned around. You're just a stupid little girl anyway. You have space and food that belongs to Tissians, that we need. You're the ones who've cut off our food. I sat down, with my back to the fence, the hexagons pressed into me, under my thin sweater and blouse. They made their imprints, which would stay on my skin for far too long. I turned to find him sitting with his back against his fence, as I had been, the same hexagons pressing into his back through the big red X on his clothes. Were you really hungry before? I asked. He didn't answer. You made my family afraid for our house and for our lives. You made my parents send me away. I don't even know if they or my sisters are still alive. I may never see them again. Do you understand? He nodded. Maybe he would never see his own family again, and maybe he thought that he should go in order for them to have enough to eat. No. I pushed those thoughts away. Me and my family, did nothing to deserve that, no matter what someone told you about the past. He nodded again. I knelt on my side of the fence, my head level with his. We each believed it was the other's fault we were in this room.